Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And it is so hot. I want to go up to the pool for a swim. I just got home from Cousin Fun Day probably a half an hour ago and filmed a couple videos in between then and now. And when Caroline was driving me home, I was like, go real slow. I want to see who's by the pool. There was a bunch of people at the pool. So I was like, well, maybe I'll just run up there for a dip, you know, or whatever. Text my neighbor. She's like, you know, always wanted to go. Alex was talking about going to the pool later, but he's been inside watching Shameless all day doing laundry. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just go up there for a dip. I want to walk today, but I walked for like 40 minutes last night. My legs are a little bit tired. I'm real tired today, even though I'm real tired. I'm really tired today, even though I got quite a bit of sleep last night, which is strange. So, but I'm really into this audiobook, so I'm going to walk tonight, and then I'll probably go for a swim after that as well. I've been doing like 2-a-days at the pool. I've been going up there during the day, and then I've been going up there at night with my neighbor, and she and I swam laps last night, which was really, really fun. So I'm getting all my exercise in. But I wanted to come over here today and read some meditations to you. Yesterday, I think I read from Journey to the Heart, so I thought today we would read from the language of letting go. So let's get in here and see what today's or yesterday's meditation was, since I didn't read from this yesterday. June 14th, we are lovable. Okay, let's read this one. Sounds like I always need a meditation about being lovable, don't you? I think one of the things in life that's so interesting is, you know, we tell other people that they should love themselves, right? Or that they're lovable. Or we'll say to other people, I mean, I've said this to a couple people in my life, several people actually, I wish you could see what I see in you, right? You know, people that are always down on themselves, people that are really hard on themselves. And I think, you know, they're such amazing, wonderful, giving people, loving people. I wish they could just for 1 second sit behind my eyes and see what I see in them. Wouldn't that be a powerful thing if we could see from somebody else's perspective what other people see about ourselves? I mean, we're honestly our own worst critics. I know I have been in life, right? I'm harder on myself than anybody's ever been in my entire life. You know, worse than anybody's ever been. I'm my worst critic in my head, or I have been in the past. I still am at times, but I've really worked on this idea of knowing that I'm lovable. I think what's hard about it is that it's such a corny concept, you know, like back in the day, like looking in the mirror and saying, you are kind, you are a good person, you are lovable, you're a good son, you're a good husband, you're a good friend. It's like you're a good neighbor, right? It's like to look in the mirror and say those things to ourselves, it feels cheesy, right? But I think the cheesiness of it is the cop-out. If you've ever done that and you make a list of all the things that you don't believe about yourself and you look in the mirror, the one that makes you cry is the one you struggle with the most, right? And I can remember back in the day when I very first did that exercise 20-some years ago, right? And I can remember I got to the point where it was like, I had somebody that wrote them down for me. I got to the point where I was like, you are lovable. And I just started bawling. I didn't believe it, you know? I say this in a lot of my videos. I said it over here just the other day, but it's like the scene from Pretty Woman when he tells her that she's beautiful, and she says the bad stuff is easier to believe. When someone tells you something long enough, you start to believe it, right? Don't buy into the lie. Don't. For years and years and years and years and years and years, I had enough people tell me that I was a piece of crap, and I did not believe that I was lovable. So when I looked in the mirror to tell myself I was lovable, I started crying because I couldn't accept it. I couldn't believe it. It couldn't be true. Who, me? You know, and that was one of the hardest things I ever had to, you know, really learn about myself and come to terms with. I believe today, at almost 52 years old, that there is evil incarnate that is born, right? Like, I think there are some serial killers out there. There are some people that are really just not good people from very, very early on. I think there are other people out there that maybe are not great people, but maybe they weren't loved a lot as a child, or maybe they were loved in wrong ways. But I also know a lot of people that were loved, didn't get the love they needed, or, you know, or mistreated when they were growing up, and they're fantastic people today, you know? So I think it all has a lot to do with our wiring and whatever. I believe out there that there is a part of all of us that is lovable. And I can remember watching the movie Dead Man Walking about Sister Helen Prejean. If you've never watched a movie with Susan Sarandon, it's an amazing movie. It's about redemption. And it's about her looking at this guy as a nun. So she's a nun. It's a true story. And he's on death row. And through the whole movie, he's kind of like meeting with her to try to get pardoned, right? And she finally is like, that's not what this is about. This is about redemption, right? Like, this is about, I see you as a human being. I see you past the murder. I see you. I see you, right? I have to believe in this world, and I know this is such a hard concept, I have to believe that even some of the worst people out there, there has to be something that we can find some humanity in whatsoever, right? Because I think one of the things I learned in sobriety that's been the host, let's not take it to the worst case scenario. That's kind of hard, right? But with everyday people, maybe we run into people that are liars, cheaters, you know, not nice people, mean people, things like that, right? One of the things I learned in early sobriety is I have to want for them what I want for myself, right? Because I have to want for other human beings what I want for myself. So if I want to believe that I'm lovable, I have to believe that they're lovable. And that's literally the idea of mercy and grace. And that's a hard concept to come up with. It's hard, right? That somebody that has wronged us, to look at them and say, you are a human being that is probably hurting, and you've probably gone through some really terrible stuff, and I might not like you, but as a human being, I can love you. I can love you, and I can, you know, feel for you that you've gone through some horrible crap in your life that has turned you into this person. And that's not a sarcastic statement or, you know, a mean statement. That's just fact, right? Like, I can find that peace in somebody that is a 45-year-old mean person today, that at 6 years old they were mistreated as a child and they've carried that with them. I know people like that. I was that kid to some degree, right? And so I have to want for other people what I want for myself. That's hard. That has been a really, really hard thing for me. When I've really been like having issues with people, like I can remember 20 years ago, you know, I really had more than that probably. And I can remember talking to my sponsor. My sponsor said, he said to me at that time, you need to pray for him. You need to pray for the resentment to be removed, and you need to pray for him that what you want for yourself, you can have. I was like, I don't know that I can do that, you know? So I think this idea of being lovable is interesting, because we're usually the ones that stand in the way of that, right? We can tell anybody else in the world that they are, but we can't see it for ourselves sometimes with us. We are lovable, July 14th. Even if the most important person in your world rejects you, you are still real, and you are still okay. Wow, that's really powerful, isn't it? Even if the most important person in your world rejects you, you are still real, and you are still okay. Wow. I mean, I have been in those moments where I felt absolutely, completely alone in the world. I think that's where my belief in a higher power has gotten me through some kind of things. Even at the times where it was questionable for me, I could look out and I could be like, I remember this friend of mine that we got sober together, and he was my aftercare group, and he was going back and forth with our counselor at the time and about higher power stuff, and this guy was a painter. He's since passed away. He was a really neat guy. Some of the paintings in my house that I have, he did. And I remember he looked out the window at this tree that was outside, and he goes, well, I can't make a tree, so I guess my higher power is the guy that makes trees, you know? And sometimes when I look at trees, or I look at the grass, or birds flying, or whatever, I think, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I don't get what it is. I don't know if it's God or the universe or science or whatever, but there is definitely something bigger than me out there, you know? And it's not me. So, I love this already. Do you ever find yourself thinking, how could anyone possibly love me? So many times. For many of us, this is so interesting, because we were just talking about this in marriage counseling this week. That has been one of the things that I have wanted. I know I keep on interrupting this meditation, but that is one of the things that has been so hard in this relationship with my husband, that we've been together almost 16 years and married for almost 13, is my, you know, this is kind of like a catchphrase now, but self-sabotage. Like, I have really, like, internally and subconsciously tried to sabotage this relationship because I didn't feel like I was lovable enough, right? And so at times when, like, Alex will say really, really sweet, loving things to me, it's almost like nails on a chalkboard. And not so much anymore, but in the past it was. It was like, it's so hard to hear, you know? Because I didn't believe it about myself. How could anyone possibly love me? For many of us, this is a deeply ingrained belief that can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. See? Self-sabotage. Thinking we are unlovable can sabotage our relationships with coworkers, friends, family members, and other loved ones. This belief can cause us to choose or stay in relationships that are less than we deserve because we don't believe we deserve better. We may become desperate and cling as if a particular person was our last chance at love. I did that in previous relationships. We may become defensive and push people away. That was me. We may withdraw or constantly overreact. While growing up, many of us did not receive the unconditional love we deserved. Many of us were abandoned or neglected by important people in our lives. You know, it's interesting because I wasn't by my family, but I think, like, in teachers who I always respected and they would never stand up and say anything, I think that was so hard for me. you know, because I was the student that loved teachers. And then I had so many teachers that would never stand up for me. It was hard, you know. We may have concluded that the reason we weren't loved was because we were unlovable. Blaming ourselves is an understandable reaction, but an inappropriate one. If others couldn't love us or love us in the ways that worked, that's not our fault. In recovery from codependency, we're learning to separate ourselves from the behavior of others, and we're learning to take responsibility for our healing, regardless of the people around us. Just as we may have believed that we're unlovable, we can become skilled at practicing the belief that we are lovable. This new belief will improve the quality of our relationships, absolutely, 100%. It will, I mean, when I started realizing that I was deserving of love and I was a lovable person, like, our marriage, like, completely catapulted. I mean, it was a lot about, and then I had to go back and look at other relationships in my life, you know, friendships and other things like that, and realize that I either was willing to accept a pile of crap because I felt like I was a pile of crap, or I wasn't willing to accept goodness because I felt like I was a pile of crap and I didn't deserve goodness. It was one or the other, right? Like, I couldn't just be okay with being loved. We would think that would be such a simple thing, an easy thing, but it wasn't for me, you know? It will improve our most important relationship, our relationship with ourselves. We will not be able to let others love us. We will be able to let others love us and become open to the love and friendship we deserve. Today, God help me be aware of and release any self-defeating beliefs I have about being unlovable. Help me begin today to tell myself that I am lovable. Help me practice this belief until it gets into my core and manifests itself in my relationships. You know, I believe this thing that just because somebody says something doesn't mean it's true. I think each of us out there are deserving of love. You are deserving of love, okay? No matter who put you in a position or who told you things or did things that made you feel like, if I was lovable, this would never happen to me. Really horrific shit happens to lovable people. That's the truth, okay? Really bad crap happens to really lovable people. At some point in your life, you have to decide, am I going to spend the rest of my life not accepting the love that I deserve? And just because one day you wake up and you go, okay, I am lovable, doesn't mean that tomorrow it's going to happen. You're going to be in this most romantic relationship. It's work, right? I had to come to the point where I realized I don't want to spend the rest of my life hating myself. I want to spend the rest of my life loving myself, because the more I love myself, and I've said this on a lot of videos, even on my drama channel, I believe the more I love myself, care about myself, feel my own self-worth, the more I'm going to enjoy the world around me. The more I'm going to enjoy music, relationships with people, spending time with people, going to the pool, sitting out here watching a movie, sitting out here drinking a cup of coffee, talking to my neighbors, right? That's all contingent on my own self-love. And you deserve it too. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.